Aha! You can tell I don't really use OBS very often for streaming. What's going on, dudes and dudettes out there in Ampland? Had a little bit of a snafu there with the streaming software, pretty much showing you that there were 0 days to go on the live stream. So here we are, and I figured we'd go ahead and do a live stream since we're looking at the breakout from that kind of what we toss up called tacitly a falling wedge. Maybe a bear flag, a bull flag, hopefully, one of the two, with that ascending trend line coming in there. And I figured, why not do a live stream here tonight and get some chats in here, get some discussion going, and take a look at the amp charts. So you'll remember potentially, am I coming through good? Give me something in the chat. Let me know I'm coming through. Check 1, 2. Are you guys hearing me over there? Cool. All right. Anyways, okay, so we had that falling wedge, we had that bull flag. Sorry, you guys can tell I'm not very well versed in streaming. So I'm looking at the 4 hourly right now. We're going to jump through all the charts here, and we're going to talk about everything we can kind of see shaping up here. So we had that falling wedge. That's the last time I'm going to say that. We had this ascending support line, and earlier today, I would say late morning, we started getting a 4-hour candle that was peeking out of this falling wedge. We've gotten a lot of continuation patterns. We had this big candle here with a full body. We had a small upwards candle, another small upwards candle, and then followed by that indecision doji, which I was pretty excited to see, because either we were going to dump or we were going to pump. And that went ahead and continued this pattern that we started painting. So originally what I was looking at is this more sort of macro trend line that extends back to late January, early February. Got a little tacit here on the daily with a couple candles that wick down below it, but in general, this trend line seems to have held pretty well. And we got extended way above the trend line in a pump, as crypto often does, right? And then we started painting this bull flag here. So what I really was looking for, you guys might have followed over on Twitter. We were really hoping to see. Let me go back to that point. Maybe I didn't post. Whatever. We were hoping to see, as these all converged over here. Back over on the 4 hourly. Let's reset that scale. Yeah, as we converged over here, we've got. Let's reframe this a little bit. On this bull flag too, right? We've got downward trend lines that are slowly converging to a point, but then we had this ascending trend line that was much more macro, coming in and intersecting to create. You almost want to call this a tiny symmetrical triangle in this area, but creating some sort of corner case here that provided support for that breakout of the falling wedge bull flag. So that was, a godsend to have that little trend line come up and follow us up here. And it gave us an opportunity, an excuse almost, if you will, to break out. And more importantly, over here on the Bitcoin chart, the hand of God came down. As this trend line was entering up into this falling wedge bull flag type thing and starting to intersect the candles around 1600 on the 28th. Yeah. Oh, look at that! Right as that ascending trend line was intersecting into our falling wedge, got a big green candle signaling in the bottom for Bitcoin, followed by this pretty bullish move that we've been having. So we had Bitcoin often floats the altcoins up. When Bitcoin goes for a dump ride, it brings everybody with it. But it's always cordial enough to float us back up to the top along with it as well. We're going to get back to the Bitcoin charts in a little bit because I have, I don't know if this is continuing on to all-time highs or if we're getting a dead cat bounce. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But as those converged, that support line gave us support again, and it gave us the opportunity to break out, like we talked about, get that indecision doji, and we're starting to paint a higher slope support line on the very micro trend, I'll grant, since midday, probably yesterday. I'm seeing this new more steep support line forming. And so far, we're holding that very well here on the 4-hourly. So let's not get ahead of ourselves, though. Let's switch over to the daily. And we had this candle that broke out, and so far, we're painting a candle that has, it's wicked up, it's wicked down, but it hasn't wicked too far, and it's trading really stably here. To me, that kind of indicates we're getting a little bit of a cool-off as long as we close this candle up above this wedge or this bull flag, depending on how you want to look at it. I keep saying the two because you'll note we have it painted as a wedge that'll eventually converge down here. But, you can almost paint this a little bit parallel as well, depending on your breaks here, I think it makes a little more sense as a wedge. And we're coming in on the last, third or so of that wedge. Let me go ahead and extend these lines, just so we have a little bit of frame of reference, Like I've been saying, I'm looking for before the middle of March, and we managed to get those support lines giving us a breakout. So, checking the chat. No questions in the chat. Awesome. By the way, make sure... I noticed the subscriber count kind of slowing down a little bit. Make sure you smash that subscribe button, turn on post notifications if you haven't. Hit the like button, drop your comments on the live stream, on any of the videos. I try to reply as often as I can. I'm sorry, I cracked a can of Foster's so we could have, get a little bit of shitposting fuel for the stream here. Granted, I know Foster's is very frowned upon in Australia, as far as I'm aware. But, best that we can get here. We can't get any Victoria bitters here in the States. Anyway, over here on the 4-hourly, we're also, we're getting strong. We got a little bit of support here at the, rolling my sleeves up, at the 21 candle moving average. Notice we wicked down and tested it a couple times on our way over to this new support line a few hours ago. That's also nice to start seeing these support lines form. What I'm really looking for, it's interesting how switching over to the daily is kind of skewing these trend lines a little bit. That doesn't look right. Disregard that on the daily. I think there's a trading view glitch going on there because I don't know. Anyway, so over on the daily, looking at the 21-day moving average, still admittedly well above where we're at, because we've been in a downtrend for quite some time, since the middle of February. So, looking to eventually flip that over to support. Let's take a look at the hourly, just see what we've been doing here very recently. There we go. 21 hourly, providing a lot of support here as well. More importantly, that new trend line we've drawn intersected a couple candle bodies, but in general, look at how tight. I haven't looked at the hourly yet at all today. Look at how tight that trend line we're painting here is showing support here on the hourly as well. I like to see that. Get a bottle of Kraken rum, give me superpowers. My best friend back in college, actually, Kraken and Mountain Dew was all that dude would drink at parties. He'd show up to a party with his own bottle of Kraken. He'd fall back on Captain if he absolutely had to, but I'll admit, that was some good stuff. I'm trying not to do liquor during the weeks, though, so it's a beer night. So that's kind of looking at the macros here, or the micros, I'm sorry, here. Now, I'm going to go ahead and look at some of the macros here on AMP here in a minute, but first, I want to look at something over here. Guy on Twitter here, well, he's a YouTuber, Tyler. I botched this last time too. Tyler Sturgilevich, him, Crypto, a few other crypto guys have been, actually, let me go ahead and post the live stream up on the Twitter real quick. That'd be smart to do, wouldn't it? Just a sec. Sorry, I popped open another window so you don't have to watch me do this. Popped open another window. Alright, take that over to the Twitters. Okay. So something Tyler's been talking about, quite a few people in the crypto space have been talking about, is something that, excuse me, I swear it's not COVID. You won't catch it over the internet. Oh, meme virus. Probably not allowed to say that on the stream. Oh no, they're going to shut me down. Anyway, something a lot of people have been talking about is a very, very macro trend that I don't have any lines drawn for, but some ascending channels that Bitcoin has been respecting for quite some time. Let's see if we can maybe paint some. Not even going to try. Not doing that on the seat of my pants. A lot of people have been looking at, for this downtrend that we're looking at, the $42,000 is kind of a bottom target. We wicked down to 43,000 and found support and immediately bounced back up. Now, the only concern I have is, let's say, I don't think it's going to happen, but it's quite possible. Let's say this here is a dead cat bounce. And if we take a look at this, let's even go on the hourly here. We wicked up above 50,000 and were immediately rejected. Got some volatility and are now stabilizing over here. I'm looking at the Bitcoin charts again, by the way. My concern is that rejection of the $50,000 marker. And as I said earlier, and as most of you probably know, if Bitcoin goes into dump mode, most of the altcoins tend to go along for the ride, right? I don't think that this was a dead cat bounce. I think we're going to start consolidating a little bit here in this upper 40 zones and continue onwards. But that's something to keep in mind. Is AMP is doing really well. Just painted that candle a little bit higher. We got 45 minutes to go on the candle here on the hourly, but still, AMP is doing really well right now, and compared to a lot of other altcoins, it fared pretty well during that correction that we were seeing on the Bitcoin chart. But something to watch out for if Bitcoin takes another massive dump down to the bottom. Well, not down to the bottom, but down to the downside. Some people are targeting as low as 35,000. I don't see that happening. If we got a further retrace, I think 42,000 is a pretty solid level of support. I think we're going to continue to the upside. But in case that happens, I want to frame that crypto volatility. We're going to hopefully watch this reject, find support on that trend line. But if Bitcoin starts taking the dump, we'll see a lot more of these. But as I said, over the past week, we've fared reasonably well. So targets for, if this breakout, looking like it will here on the 4 hourly, as long as this breakout continues, what kind of targets are we looking for? Mike Hernandez, where have I been? Working hard, hardly working. Got quite a few things, quite a few irons in the fire going on. I try to get at least, 2 videos out a week or so on here. And today's Monday. Last week I think it was last week we did the live stream on Sunday. Maybe it was 2 weeks ago. I think it was 2 weeks ago. Kind of want to start making that a weekly thing. Aim for Sunday or Monday. Make a Sunday fun day thing, or maybe more fun. The trend over the bull market so far has been, except for this Sunday. Sundays are generally dump day, so it makes it a little less fun to look at the charts. But that's where I've been. Just a lot of things I'm working on, crypto related, not crypto related. Job, little side thing I'm working on programming right now. Anyways, back to the topic at hand. Where might we see this falling wedge play breakout? Looked at this in the previous video, but let's go ahead and reaffirm here. We discounted that wick up to like 55 cents because that was like instantaneous almost if you were really tracking. So if we go up to the top of this, about 40%. Oh, no, I wanted to look at the retrace value. Okay, we had 30% retrace from the bottom to the top of the wedge. Also looking about 40%. So let's go over to the 4 hourly. Look at our breakout points. Trace up a 40%. Coincidentally, that takes us right up above our next Fibonacci retracement level. And so what I would really like to see happen, if I get my drawing tool out, is I want to see us continue building support here and start. Let me make that pixel width a little bit wider because that's way too thin. Let's get the brush out. Let's make that a 4 pixel. So, good lord, delete, Control Z. There we go. So, kind of follow this trend line, and hopefully sometime tomorrow. I don't think the break at the 3 cent is going to be that vertical. We're probably going to get more of a back test, find support, and continue upward. My target would be that 30% range is going to be, sorry, 40% is what we measured, right? Yeah, somewhere in there. Hopefully find somewhere in here, followed by a back test down to this Fibonacci level, and start cementing some support here. And potentially over the next few days after that, we may come back and find some more support on the trend line here. That's what I'm looking for, in the immediate term, assuming we kind of follow the trend that we're working with here. I got to remember what it was. I saw some really great AMP-related news today. I sent it in a text thread somewhere. Give me a sec to find this. Maybe it was in the Discord. Let me check. Hold on, Adam. Let me check their Twitter. Maybe it was posted there. I have way too many streams and sources of information going on. Oh yeah. CNBC. I retweeted this earlier today. Let me jump over to. It's okay. Let me jump over to my streaming software. See if I can get the audio for the video here, and we can take a watch of this together. So let me add audio input capture. Audio output capture. Let's see, did that work? Let me check. Sorry, flying by the seat of my pants as usual.
Worth of Bitcoin. Today, that $20.
Yes, I believe that's coming through. If I look like an idiot when I check the chat here in a minute, that's fine. Okay, take this full screen, 3-minute video from CNBC, and you'll see the point. I'll pause it when we get to the point. It's big news here. So
4 years ago, I tried to live off Bitcoin.
You said Bitcoin? No.
And failed. It was too hard to find anyone who accepted it. And it was expensive. To get a Metro card, I had to meet a guy at Penn Station, pay him $20 worth of Bitcoin. Today, that $20 would be worth $370. The $10 salad at a French restaurant, now valued at $125.
If you're just jumping in, this is a woman from CNBC
with a digital coin
framing how difficult it was to
and
spend
Tesla
crypto
starting
back in
to
the previous
accept it
market.
as a payment method, I decided to put the cryptocurrency to the test again. In 2017, I couldn't buy coffee directly with Bitcoin, but in 2021, it's possible. Starbucks recently rolled out a limited program that allows customers to reload Starbucks cards using Backed Cash, a platform that can store Bitcoin. That's the biggest change, third-party apps that make it easier to spend Bitcoin.
Okay, do you see that in the bottom left? Hold on to your pants for a second.
Nordstrom, GameStop, and Lowe's now accept it through a payment system called Flexa.
Now, did you hear that? Here we go.
Shoppers can scan a QR code and pay the retailer directly using the cryptocurrency. According to Flexa, 61% of transactions on the platform are for coffee, tea, and other quick service items. Added bonus, no user fees. What hasn't changed in 4 years?
So, that to me is humongous. And I think it should be humongous to anybody that is kind of really, really tracking AMP and Flexa here. As we all know, AMP is the collateralization token for Flexa Network that they're working on. And to see that mentioned on CNBC, granted, they didn't mention AMP specifically, not just yet. Sorry, like I said, live streams, the dog goes a little crazy. She thinks I'm talking to her, because I don't go gaga talk to my dog. Anyway. But that's the first time I've seen Flexa really on mainstream news sources, really. So that, to me, was absolutely incredible to see. And sorry, I kind of tripped up there. I expect the fact that they briefly focused on a market rally, I expect that we will see probably some more coverage. The other thing I want to point out is that you'll notice she talked about Flexa said about 61% of their transactions on their network are basically point of sale, quick serve items, foods, not, $20,000 transactions for trading, right? And that's exactly what AMP and Flex are getting after, is that point of sale. And my hope is that they're going to provide some more coverage of this, and what that next coverage is going to be is this little bit that she says here.
Are for coffee, tea, and other quick service items. Added bonus, no user fees.
No user fees. She's kind of glossing over the effectively infinite reduction in transaction fees for the merchant, and that's kind of the real sell here, right? So I'm hoping somebody from Flexa kind of runs some back channels and talks to CNBC and says, hey, let's talk about that little bit that you kind of glossed over, and let's get some of our people on that to really describe why this is a good thing, right? This is fundamentally big news to start seeing this actually getting coverage. If they started getting some PR people out front on CNBC, all the boomer channels, basically, for lack of a better descriptor. Sorry to any boomers watching, but cable television is huge audience, but a little bit old hat, if you will. But those are the people with the money, and those are the people with the companies that can start making these adoptions. If they could get some PR people out in front of them to say, here's how much money you could save through the collateralization of the Flexa network at your point of sale without any hardware upgrades, which is kind of the big sell too. Here's how much money you can save on every transaction that, you're paying Visa, MasterCard 2-3%. Sure, Visa and MasterCard, people are talking about, they're allowing crypto transactions on Visa cards, but they're still charging the merchant, freaking 2%, whatever the hell they're charging them. I mean, you're doing, say, $1 billion business, $1 million business, 2%. That's not chump change, right? So if somebody can get out there and start making that sell, that would be humongous. So back over here on the chart, let's take a look at trading volume. We're starting to see, as we've gotten this breakout, we talked about on the previous video I put on the channel, you can see that generally, I'm not drawing lines on here, but generally the trading volume while we were trading in this wedge has been declining. The one thing I'm looking for here that we haven't really gotten yet is we got the breakout, we got an indecision doji, and we continued the breakout. We're building a trend, but you'll notice the volume in this area still rather small. It's not as low as it got during the wedge at quite a few points, but what I'm really looking for to really build confirmation of this breakout is as we start seeing more trading volume come in and start getting us back up, let's scroll over and take a look at some of the volume we were getting on our run here. More up in that region. The trading volume, if we could get about double our trading volume that we're looking at right now, that would be awesome. And this candle that we're painting right now that is starting to look like another indecisive doji, hopefully next candle going to the upside or over the next 34 minutes, candle itself going to the upside. We're only halfway through that candle and we're exceeding the volume of the rest of the breakout. So what I want to see is more buying action here, either in this candle or the next candle, pushing us more to the upside. Sellers losing. There we go. Look at that. Some buy action. If we can keep getting volume coming in on this candle and really start cementing, hey, there's volume coming in to confirm this breakout of this, it's not a long-term trend, but several weeks long trend to the downside, that would be fantastic. And that's the key indicator I'm looking for here. If the volume stays low, the problem's going to be there's just not enough money moving and people are going to start taking profits. And it's quite possible if the volume doesn't come in, we see something like, maybe continue this pattern for a little bit and come down and test and then come back in. And it becomes a fake out instead of a breakout, right? And then we start trading in here. Then either we get a breakout or if the market takes a dump, get a breakdown. So we need the volume to start coming in to really confirm this. And like I said, but it keeps coming in. Still a little bit of an indecisive candle, which is not a bad thing. Or maybe not. Maybe it is a decisive candle. Whatever happens. As long as we hold this trend line and start building volume coming in, that's going to be what I'm really looking for this uptrend to continue, or maybe do a little more of a upwards move to find support here at the Fibonacci level sooner. And maybe do a back test of it, find support back on the trend line and continue onwards. So that's what I'm looking at on the micro trend. A little bit of an exhaustive look there, huh? Checking the chat here. So Lottie Dottie, Lady Datey, whatever. Talking about regulatory clarity. I think you noticed one of the tabs I have open that I keep track of. I'm gonna give you guys a little sneak peek of what I see painting on XRP on a very macro trend. Seeing a symmetrical triangle kind of paint there with a little bit of a late start on the bottom leg. That's not what we're looking at here, though. But anyway, to your point, most of the crypto market, I honestly don't foresee getting bogged down in this at the moment. I did see the what did the SEC call that? Like a investor alert or something like that. I can't remember. There's an attorney that tracks XRP very close. John Deaton? Something like that. Yes. Who put out some perspective. He's an attorney. He actually knows what he's talking about. I'm going to have a tough time finding it. I think it was yesterday. On the SEC put out some notice about crypto in general and warning to investors, but it was more so about brokerages, clearinghouses, funds like Grayscale, MicroStrategy. All of these, kind of a notice of how they need to do their bookkeeping is kind of how I read it. It wasn't nearly as abysmal of a release as I expected it was from the hype. But you're right. I mean, regulatory clarity is going to make a lot of cryptos rip to the upside. But I think in the 2021 term, we're not going to see, the Ripple settlement happen. probably until, later in the year, or not settlement, ruling. I don't know. I could see a settlement happening at some point. I'm really hoping for that, but XRP is not the focus of the channel here. I have some bags in it, and I'm hoping those go to the top. But as far as AMP goes, in general, the altcoin space, I don't think is going to be held down in a sideways pattern by SEC action unless you get more specific targets by the SEC, which I don't foresee happening for a while. If you have any thoughts, though, specifically relating to AMP or other altcoins, I'd be all ears. Anyways, looking at the daily trend, the macro trend on the daily, I had somebody in a comment on a recent video point out an interesting thought that I kind of want to explore with you guys a little bit, and then after we explore this thought, I think we might go fool around with some market cap values, which, I mean, market cap, what does that really mean, right? A lot of people like to pretend that makes projections overvalued. We'll get to that. But over here on the macro, if we take the brush, make it a bigger brush, so we can see, let's actually take it to a highlighter. You kind of start to see a little bit of a cup forming that went into that cup and handle we talked about back in February that led to the launch off, which was actually, really exciting to see. Draw that cup and handle pattern and then boom, pop. But if you keep drawing, you can see a more macro cup form. And the counterpoint to that is, well, it's asymmetrical. It doesn't really hold the textbook cup and handle pattern. And the interesting, sort of counter to that counter would be, well, consider the following. AMP started trading AMP token itself. We're going to go ahead and, not sit here and overanalyze. Well, maybe not overanalyze, but get way down in the weeds and say, well, what was Flex trading at? Blah, 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 blah. It's a different token. For TA perspective, it probably doesn't matter. For a fundamentals analysis, what Flexa did might matter more. But Flexa coin. But for a TA's perspective, this is the very left wall, right, if you will. That this was the original inception date. If you ascribe to TA as forming patterns of investing behavior as opposed to things that aren't really directly tied to fundamentals. They are, but the trends themselves kind of set. Blah 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 blah. I mean, you can see that from the level that it was at, this quote cup and handle is roughly symmetrical. I mean, the bottom is a little off from the center, but it's very tempting to draw this up over here. Call this a cup. Call this a handle, right? And then measure out from that very bottom to the very top of the cup. Let's call it the body here. Measure out a 1100% move. Call this here the bottom of the handle. Measure out, let's be conservative, half of that. I mean, this is starting to seem like, almost like schizotype analysis. You can tell I'm into XRP, right? But, shit, we gotta zoom out, don't we? Take that up to 700%. And you're starting to talk about at least double digits up to 20 cents. If this cup and handle launches off. Instead of, rough having it, kind of guesstimating, let's take a look at what that cup and handle that was pretty macro, not super macro, but was sort of macro, a couple weeks trading. Let's take a look at what that did. Right. And measure from the bottom to the top. Let me go over to the 4-hourly just so we can get a little bit better resolution on it. If TradingView will let me scroll back that far. Yes. I don't know what these are. Let's delete those. Okay. So, if we take bottom of that cup and handle, and we treat. So here at the top was 32%. That's 32% from the bottom of the handle. It was only that first move up here. So, I mean, I don't think it's delusional to think that AMP could hit double digits on a macro play, right? It's not going to be as fast as this cup handle launch, right? That handle bottomed out on the 9th of February. We topped out 3 days later. Let's look at how wide that cup was. Go over on the daily so we can actually count days. Sorry. And let's kind of, say 6th of February. The cup was about 3 days. The launch was about 3 days. We're talking this cup and handle. The cup goes from way back in September, or you could trace back to maybe early September, let's call it that, up to February is about 5 months, right? The handle paints down, and I would be very excited to see over the next 5 months this cup and handle play out. Do I think it's going to? I'm not sure. Again, like I said, it's interesting that that smaller term cup and handle painted right at the end of this one. Almost like you're nesting a cup and handle and a cup and handle at the end of it. And I'm skeptical of, just willy-nilly extending this to call it symmetrical, but it's a very interesting observation somebody pointed out to me that I hadn't really thought about. And if it plays out, that's going to be awesome. I mean, I know there's a lot of people that talk about, AMP is going to $1. Going to $1 this year. I don't know. I think that may be a little bit of a reach. But it's the world of crypto. Who knows? Where are we trading at now? That's a 40x. That's a damn large gain even in the crypto space. But I've seen weirder things happen having been involved in this space since like 2016. But I'm not going to hang my hat on $1 XRP, but I don't think it's impossible. I just think double digit cents, not dollars, is a lot more, grounded in reality. So we've looked at a bunch of charts. We've looked at the hourly. We've looked at the 4 hourly. We've looked at. God, I cannot talk, can I? 4 hourly, the daily, the weekly, the monthly, and the isn't going to matter too much on the scale that we're looking at. We're not reaching back to 2017 with AMP. Let's jump over to CoinMarketCap. And let's just, not being, a professional fundamentals analysis person, which leads me to also say, I'm not a financial advisor. I have never been trained in finance. Don't take anything I say as advice. I'm along for the ride just as much as you are. Please don't sue me. I'm not a financial advisor, not a legal advisor. It's just kind of a hobby channel. And I enjoy trading crypto and raising awareness about great projects like this. So, over here on CoinMarketCap, we're going to... Let's see what CoinGecko says, because there's been this tendency to market cap and Gecko where they rank AMP very differently, and I want to see which one's correct, because I know one of them has incorrect numbers here. So this one has the right price. CoinGecko also has the right price. For a while, that sounds silly, but for a while, neither of them were tracking the right price. They were tracking something like Ample, AMPLE. I'm corroborating these to make sure they're roughly similar. So I think CoinGecko is more correct. That sounds right. It's also going to give us a little more conservative estimates. The assumed market cap now is higher than whatever coin market cap is pointing to. Okay. So in a day, let's round down just for sake of argument. Not sake of argument, rather, sake of ease of calculation. Trading volume of $2 million. Let's say... First, let's look at the... I'm shooting from the hip here. I'm looking to find the, daily transaction volume for the Visa network. Not targeting the 100% of Visa market cap. Trust me. But going to use that as a baseline for... So in a quarter, Visa in 2018 moved to $2 trillion. Let's use that as another, 3 years ago, be a little conservative. So 2 trillion, 1,000 million, billion. I'm typing this into the browser to Google search the calculation because I have this set up to share the window, not my screen. So I don't want to do all these calculations, and not have it visible. So $2 million per quarter divided by 3 months per quarter divided by 30 days per month rounding. Let's take this value 1, 2, 3, comma 1, 1, 2, 3, comma 1, 2, 3. About $22 billion a day is what Visa was moving in 2018 in payment volume. So let's take 22 billion and let's... What do you think? Let's say what Flexa Network collateralizes what? Let's do 0.5% maybe times 0.005 becomes 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 becomes 100, about 100 million transactions a day is about 0.5% of the Visa daily transaction. Now, compare that to current trading volume. I'm going to take this and put the commas in there so we keep ourselves straight. Ditch those. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. 111 million. Now, compare that to current trading volume per day. I'm not looking at market cap because market cap implies every single token sells for US dollars at the exact same price at the exact same time. And we're talking about a token that's built for transactions and collateralization. Now, this trading volume, this number that we're going to be using here, my question is, I don't know, is that trading volume also accounting for the transactions back and forth on the ledger for... say you go to Dunkin' Donuts and you use Flexa with this Spedin, is that how you pronounce it? SPEDN, the app that runs on Flexa. One of the apps. Is that 2.4 million counting those transactions? I assume so. Trading volume, you're trading back and forth between people. So we're going to make that assumption. I like to caveat all the assumptions I make. So, this divided by 2,398,000, 1, 2, 3. You end up looking at 46 times the trading volume. And let's go just full dummy. And let's multiply that difference by the current price of the token. times 0.02476. $1.10. Assuming you capture 0.5% of MasterCard, and making kind of a baseless assumption that if trading volume 45x's, the price will roughly 46x. That may not necessarily be the case, but I think order of magnitude wise, you're roughly there. Maybe it's a 20x, maybe it's a 30x. And so what I've been seeing recently too on Twitter, on image boards, on YouTube, a lot of people are targeting the dollar value, and this honestly really basic pitch fundamentals analysis. I'll admit, like, this is not sophisticated at all. This is just looking at volume, comparing ratios. It says there's a lot more nuance that we can go into that I'm going to go into, but this is shooting from the hip, just kind of hanging out on the live stream. $1.14, $1.15. People are targeting $1. And I mean, honestly, like, kind of starts to make sense. There's a lot of people that are speculating, target 1% of Visa. I think 0.5% is a lot more realistic. And the partnerships are building and are growing. I mean, I can go to Dunkin' Donuts and buy on the Flex network. I mean, that's awesome. But how big is Dunkin' and Baskin? Not huge. I've seen some rumors floating around about, specifically on Biz. I saw rumors about Shopify. Shopify partnership. Absolutely no clue. I saw like a post by somebody claiming to be from Shopify saying, watch out, AMP, Flex the Network collaboration. I'm not going to buy into that hopium, but would be cool if it happened. I don't see it happening. But either way, if we capture 0.5% of Visa transactions daily, looking at about $1 a token. So my strategy that I'm looking at here, everybody's gunning for $1 a token. I don't think, by 2022, I don't think AMP is going to be valued at $1.14, $1.0. I think it's going to have a retrace. As we've talked about before, I'm an subscriber to Bitcoin following cycles that track the halving periods, and I expect around this winter, to start entering about a 3-year bearish phase. And historically, most coins follow along the bear trend. There's a few anomalies. The one that comes to mind would be Chainlink. Chainlink performed exceptionally well during the bear market. Not exceptionally well during the bull market here, but that's because it made so many gains during the bear market. But I would expect a retrace down from $1, $1.14, whatever you're actually targeting and gunning for, over 2022 to, when's the next halving? I think it's about 2024. I would expect a retrace down. Not sure where we would retrace to. And the other concern is everybody is gunning for that dollar barrier, right? You want that psychological barrier of $1. So I'll tell you what I'm looking for. Again, I'm not a financial advisor. What I'm looking to see happen is this trend to hold, some sort of, that looks terrible. This trend to hold, maybe some retracement, blah, blah, blah. And over the course of this year, if we trend up to $1 at some point, I'm personally targeting, and this is what I like to do, is take this general sentiment of everybody's gunning for $1. Dollar's going to happen. That's guaranteed to happen. There's no way we can't hit that in a bull cycle. What I like to do is take that target that sounds insane, and I like to take, 20% off of it. I don't need the ruler because I know what 20% of $1 is. And I'm looking to make an exit strategy between like 70 and 80 cents if we start continuing to see bullish patterns that point towards total mania. Let's be real, getting to $1 would require total mania if it happened in this bull cycle. If it happened in 2024, that's an entirely different story, and that's way, way outside of what we're talking about here. I'm talking about by October, November. And even the way I've drawn this doesn't really paint that properly, right? Maybe it does that. And by October, we do retrace, pop up, crash back down. I mean, that starts to look a little more realistic, especially on a log chart. But like I said, I'm going to try to get out before the target that everybody throws around. Just like, XRP, there's the community that throws around $100, $1,000, $80, whatever. I have an exit strategy to get out at certain percentages at different points. I have an exit strategy for Bitcoin to get out before, people have cited Citibank saying, oh, it could be $3,000 a coin. God, no. I'm getting out between 80, 100, 120,000. If I miss out on any more gains from there, that's fine. Just like here, I want to get out between 70, 80 cents. Or sorry, 70, 80 70, 80 cents. If we start trading up the way that some people are thinking. I'm going to try to get out before the peak because you don't want to be left bag holding after the peak. But we're in a very great buying opportunity, I think. And I think we're reaching the point very soon where this Fibonacci retracement that we've been tracking for a long time, which takes the original launch of AMP followed by that sudden spike up to about 1.4 cents, all the way down to the bottom of that bear trend with the extension on top of it. I think we're getting close to where we can stop tracking that as our Fibonacci. And what I mean by that is if we do a retrace, start doing shorter term retraces as opposed to that 5-month long one. Do a retrace here from that very peak that we wicked up to. We're still trading in the consolidation phase of this particular move. Assuming there's not a break to the downside. Which, as we discussed, if, heaven forbid, Bitcoin decides, nope, we got rejected, we're done, dumping back down. Could happen. I'm not sure. If we do, targeting 42,000. If we break down 32,000 and keep going, absolute bottom, I think, is 35,000. I don't have the TA yet, but suffice it to say, I think that's the worst bearish target. But I think 43,000 was enough of a wick down that we're going to go back on a bull trend here. So I don't think we're going to have a breakdown and crash. I made the mistake of jumping over to Bitcoin and I lost where I was. So, yeah, that kind of reveals a little bit of what I'm looking for long term. And in fact, here with the new Fibonacci drawn from that very peak, let's look at where we might extend out to. In a more midterm play, I expect we'll see resistance here at the 2.8, which actually provided a little bit of support and resistance. Mostly provided sideways trading back in mid-February. And a little bit of resistance in late February. We'll probably get a little bit of resistance on that. So what I'm looking for is, say we trend like this, kind of consolidate on that fib level, get a solid break, solid retest, and then continue upward on the trend line. Or potentially, consolidate down to meet the trend line and then continue upwards on the fib levels. That's what I'm looking for here on the shortish to medium term once we start painting this picture. it starts to get a little confusing when you have multiple fib layers on top of each other. But suffice it to say, we're trading in the retrace of the really macro trend, and on the shorter term trend, we're also in the little bit of a retrace. And I'm targeting upside up to double digits. Again, we're seeing that kind of upper 10 to 20 cent range kind of start to paint itself when we start talking about midterm, couple months, maybe even a month range. Sounds a little bit too bullish, but hell, think about a 10x, right? I mean, 10x from here is friggin' 25 cents. So that's about, I'm about gassed out here. Does anybody have any thoughts over there in the chat, or are you guys tuckered out being 11 o'clock Eastern time? Oh, looking at the volume here, I mean, we're starting to see a little bit of increase in volume after that breakout. That's good, that's good. I mean, don't be too silent over there, guys. Anybody have any thoughts? What are your personal kind of targets for, say, the next month or two on AMP? Anybody got any thoughts? What are you gunning for by April Fool's Day? Personally, I'm shooting for, I'm thinking by April Fool's Day, maybe. Not advice, but I'm hoping for that 1 cent range, fighting that 11 cent fib level. No thoughts, huh? Well, do make sure, if you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Hit the little bell to get your post notifications. That'll keep you up to date, and it helps the channel out so much. Also, if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and 8 cents JRV. I think that's pretty reasonable as well. That puts us more in that so you're thinking more of that for lack of a better term, bluish fib level here. What's the value there? The 1618. And 618 is definitely a great value to be at. And if we could cement support above 8 cents, I would be so happy. 10 to 11 is kind of shooting from the hip, but yeah, that would be awesome if over the next month we hit that 8 cent range. I would love that. Oh, the cut, man, you missed out on. Gosh, would have probably been up for over an hour. Yeah, an hour and 12 minutes. Make sure you go back and check it out. We went through the 4-hour, the hourly, we went on the daily. We looked at some macro trends that, I'm talking macro trends from September, beginning of AMP. We looked at potentially a cup and handle and why that may be valid, why that might not be valid. We've got a lot of targets that we're looking for here. We also did a little first foray into kind of baby's first fundamentals analysis based on the level of detail we went into, but kind of getting an idea for the rough order of magnitude that we could be looking at over the next year if the Flex Network continues their honestly rather quiet partnerships that they build, occasionally announce things, and just keep scaling up. So definitely make sure, there's a lot of content here, but make sure you check it out. Most of it was me talking to myself, but definitely check that out. Does anybody else have any good thoughts? Otherwise, it's getting to be later in the evening for me. I'd be happy to stick around and chat AMP some more, or if anybody wants to kind of fiddle around on the XRP charts, I'd be interested in doing that too. I don't feel like killing the stream just yet, but up to you guys. Oh, the cut. If you If you don't follow me on Twitter, I'm over here at Galaxy Brain. Well, my was auto-generated by Twitter. I didn't realize it. At Galaxy Brain Cry, and then the number 1. Rather unfortunate name there, but if you go ahead and jump over on Twitter and tag me in that, I'd like to see that video. There was an AMA. It wasn't AMP specific. Let me pull up the AMP Discord real quick, or flex the Discord. Yeah, they did a AMA with Conflux Network and Moonswap over on the Discord there. Moonswap, I guess, being a honestly not super familiar, but a token swapper. Kind of like a Uniswap, I guess. I actually have not watched that yet. That was what was that? That was 3 days ago, it looks like. I'm planning to check that video out. I just haven't gotten to it yet. On the AMP Twitter. Sorry, I was over on the I think it's probably the same thing here. Token. Yeah, Conflux and Moonswap on the Discord server. I know when the developers have had chats with other partners that were public, they generally post up the recordings of that probably within the week or so. Let's see if Conflux has a recording up yet. Because I did not get a chance to jump on that. I would like to listen to it though. I'm sure it'll get posted at some point. Let's see if anybody commented. Well, we'll have to make a little bit of a stink up on Twitter and get the recording of that posted up by somebody. I am not in Moon, but, I'm hoping to be on the moon with some of the cryptos I hold. But, sorry, if you hear that little thud noise, my dog chucked her ball underneath my desk, and the cantilever mount for my mic has an adjuster on it that her little tail was wagging and smacking up against, so you were probably hearing little thuds. So that's about all I have on AMP. I mean, we could sit here, I really enjoy sometimes when, if you guys are involved in XRP and XRP YouTube, I'm going to delete some of these squiggly lines I have on here just because they're driving me nuts, because they're not perfect and they look ugly and kind of triggers my autism. Delete some of those, get those out of there, and use the lines to support instead. If you guys are in XRP and on XRP YouTube, you might be familiar with Alex Cobb. He likes to do live streams and just sit here and watch the price and yell at sellers and all that fun jazz. But I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to jump over and do a quick little bit on XRP. I alluded to this earlier. But this is a pattern on XRP that I haven't seen people really talking about yet. Sorry, I had to take a swig of that Foster's, like I mentioned earlier. Over on the XRP chart, what I've done is I've got a fib retracement drawn from the... You guys might remember if you were in XRP at the time. We peaked at 79 cents in November, and that was honestly like the most euphoric moment in crypto I've had. Even though I got an AMP very early. Well, really closer to the bottom, so not very early, but sort of early. And, the amount that I put in, I've made a good return on, but I'm very deep in XRP, deeper than AMP, honestly. But there's so many people that do a really good TA on AMP or XRP that It's not worth dedicating a channel to. I try to stay focused here. If AMP, makes the moonshot and we all become, crypto millionaires or something, maybe I'll find another small market cap coin to go after. But we're specializing for now. But over here on the XRP chart, something I haven't seen people talk about is I drew that retracement from the peak back in November down to the very bottom of the SEC lawsuit news. And you can see resistance is forming, support's forming on the Fibonacci retracement. But what I want to point out is kind of a rough pattern, I'll admit, but a pattern I'm seeing nonetheless. Symmetrical triangles, awesome. I'll check it out in a minute. Symmetrical triangles are really about, price fluctuation, consolidating into a tighter pattern, and then launching out to the upside or the downside. And over on the XRP charts, like I said, I'm going to jump over to XRP for a little bit, and then maybe we'll hop back over to AMP and see if we have any final parting thoughts. But you can kind of paint a symmetrical triangle over here on AMP, again, from the bottom here, so it doesn't look symmetrical, but the trend lines converge symmetrically. And what I'm looking for here is we've had a lot of tests. We actually had a fake out breakdown back in late January. And we've cemented Fibonacci supports, and I'm looking for a launch up to the upside here very soon is right around 60 cents, right? And 60 cents, not on the Fibonacci retracement, but it has proven to be a bit of a strong resistance. We had a couple candle bodies close in that region, and then there was an immediate dump over here, traded up, boom, boom, boom. Had a couple tests of it up here, boom, down. Had a wick test of it, boom, down. Well, that wick test went to the fib. But if we could get to that 60 range, and after all the tests we've had, break it here, I could see XRP launching up into the above $1 range. And once we hit $1, my target, Alex Cobb has done great videos on this too, go up into the dollar range, retrace down to what he calls the launch pad of 85 cents, consolidate support, and then absolutely rip. Blockchain backer, you guys might be familiar with him if you're an XRP, is targeting by the end of the year around the upper teens. That's my primary target for XRP, is probably around $15 to $18. There's part of me that I'm going to sell some in that region. I intend to sell some at $40. I intend to sell some at $80 if it ever happens. And then I'm going to hold the rest from there. Looks absolutely insane when you zoom out this way, but that's the kind of market that we trade in. So I just wanted to point out that the symmetrical triangle we're painting on XRP and some visions of the future, if you will. Hopefully the settlement comes through. And the other thing is, on XRP, it's also really important to talk about this because the SEC action against XRP, really, if you extend what they're talking about, it applies to like the entire space and pretty much every altcoin that's ever been issued. Like if the SEC was doing what they're doing to XRP now when Ethereum launched, Ethereum would have been under court cases for a year too. So whether you're an XRP hater or not, a positive ruling on this is very positive for the entire space. Oh, dude, no. Yeah, sorry. I'm getting a little XRP schizo. But I wanted to point out this symmetrical triangle. I at least expect this to break out into the above dollar range, consolidate down to 85, and then make continuation on from there. Like I said, I've got those really high pie in the sky targets. Are they going to play out? Probably not, but at least on the short term, I should be able to cover my base and then hopefully ride it to the top or write it off as a loss, one of the two. Back to AMP over here, which is what we actually care about on this channel. Still holding that support line there. Over on the hourly. Over on the hourly, look at that. The 21-hour wick down support found more support. Look at that. We are building fantastic support there. And that gives me a lot more confidence that we're going to stay on this uptrend here. Over on the Bitcoin charts, we're continuing this little bit of a down correction, but keep in mind, earlier today, there was poof down back up. It happens. You're looking on the hourly candles. You're going to see movements that, oh God, sky's falling. It's been dropping for 4 hours. Zoom back out. Notice the trend that's forming here. Building support. Not very clear on a trend line, but looking pretty clear on the moving average. Ethereum as an indicator of altcoins in general, it's not been performing as well as I wanted it to. I'll put that out there. And I think part of it, really we all know part of it has been the obscene gas fees that we're getting. I have not moved Ethereum in probably 2 months. So I got lucky and didn't have to deal with the gas fees. But apparently they've gotten astronomical. What I will say is Ethereum 2.0, the staking as a proof of staking as opposed to proof of work coming, which will, significantly bring down gas fees. When that's going to happen, I'm actually not sure. What is that, November? Somebody that's more deep in Ethereum can tell me for sure. I think it's supposed to be late November or so. But I think Ethereum has a lot of room to grow. This bull cycle, it's really been sort of underperforming, which is unusual. This is the Kraken chart. I just wanted to point this out. Be careful where you trade and if you do market trades, is something I want to point out. Over on Kraken, it's not a bad exchange, but there was a flash crash on Kraken of Ethereum that did not happen on the other exchanges, where for literally less than an hour, I bet if we went to the 15-minute, it wouldn't even show up. I don't feel like bothering going through all the charts, but for less than an hour, Ethereum traded at, what was it trading at before that? 1,700? More than a 50% discount because of some glitch in the trading software. So be very careful, especially, not just market trades, but of stop losses. Be very careful of stop losses in crypto. Honestly, I just keep track of my portfolio pretty much any time that I can. I check it pretty much every hour, every 2 hours. If you had a stop loss set, let's say, I don't know, you were trading Ethereum and you set a stop loss, you were concerned about breaking down below 1,300 because that's a long-term value that hasn't been broken in a long time. And all of a sudden this happened. That stop loss would have triggered. You would have sold somewhere down here. And maybe by the time the trade had closed, you would have bought back up here. You would have basically lost 50% of your Ethereum on a stop loss. And it's not limited to Ethereum either. This has happened on some exchanges with Bitcoin too. Not as extremely, not 50% stop loss triggers. But there is a phenomenon of, I think it happened in the previous correction. I'm not positive. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But there is a phenomenon, especially in the larger market cap cryptos, where whales kind of dump to create a giant wick down to the bottom and buy it back up when all the stop losses trigger. Is it market manipulation? Sure. Is the SEC going to do anything about that specific person? Probably not. But that's something to watch out for. Never set stop losses in crypto that are anywhere within like an order of magnitude of where the crypto is trading. That was just something I noticed as I was looking at the Ethereum chart that I realized I wanted to point out a while ago and I forgot to. And in small cap coins, something like that is, if you're really trying to manipulate the market and you're a whale, that's easier to make happen because you have to move less money, right? To overcome the trading volume. So, just something to keep in mind if you ever see a flash crash on the hourly or something like that. Don't freak out, don't sell, and don't have stop losses that can get triggered by that. Otherwise, I don't know. Let's jump over to the 30 minutes. That's what we've been doing. Cool. Holding the 21 moving average over on the 30-minute chart. Take the 15. Holding. Look at that. We just found support here on the 15-minute chart. So I think, probably going to cut it here in a minute. I think over the evening, we may see a test of the trend line here. So, in 4 hours, if we're trading at 2.3, 2.4 cents, or in 8 hours, we're trading at 2.4, wouldn't get too worried. Even if we wick down below this for a little bit, maybe get a 4-hour candle close below that trend line, I think we're going to get a retrace or get a pump back up above the trend line. It's looking to be pretty solid support for the move that we're getting out of the falling wedge. If we do break that, look to the long-term support line that we have forming, which right now, if we fell back into the wedge, we'd be trading under the 2 cent range. I don't see that happening. But if we did get a massive dump, probably driven by Bitcoin, find support on the wedge, and then probably find support on that ascending trend line. But more likely, based on AMP's performance over that short-term bear movement we had in crypto, I think we're going to consolidate and move along this trend line that today on UTC is March 2nd. Today is Monday. Friday would be the 5th. Let's see, where are we going to be Friday? If we follow the trend, we'll be trading up around 3 cents by the trend line that we're painting if we continue it through the week. And I think that's highly likely. That's about all I have today, guys. Any other questions? I'll give it like 30 seconds for the delay. Seeing a retest here of that support line on Bitcoin, by the way. Very short-term support, but provide a little support in the bear. Let's see what happens. Show us your AMP bag. Nah, I'll pass on that one. It's not that big, but it's enough to, keep me making videos. Keep me feeling, sort of invested. All right. That's about all I have for you today, guys. Quick thought on ETH. Just did some quick thoughts on ETH. Long term, I think it's got a lot of room to grow. There's a lot of people targeting up at the 10,000 range. I don't know if that's going to happen, but currently I think it's very undervalued under the 21-day moving average. It just responded very heavily to the gas fees and to Bitcoin. Long term, if we're talking long term, like 2024, next bull cycle, Ethereum 2.0 will be implemented, and we'll have to re-baseline there. If it wasn't for Ethereum 2.0 and staking, as opposed to proof of work, I would be very concerned for the long-term health of Ethereum. But with staking coming in and improving the gas fees and improving all that, I think Ethereum's going to do well long-term, especially with how many projects are built on top of it. So long-term, I'm bullish on Ethereum. Short-term, I'm bullish on Ethereum as well. medium term, I would say. I think we're going to retest, break above that. 21-day moving average there. Okay, that's about all I have for you today, guys. Have a good one.